Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Who lives on Drury Lane?
Well, she's married to the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
This is 12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
All right. How's everybody doing tonight on this Saturday night? My name is 12 Gauge. This is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Off to my left is warning label Nina. Everybody say hello to Nina. Hey, Nina, what you got to say tonight?
I say touch.
Do what?
Texas Ranger says touch or transfer, Nina.
I say it's touch.
But see, that's what people don't understand is there is a difference.
Yeah. Well, backstage, you and I were having a little conversation about Diego Depletion and some of the stuff that maybe people don't understand about it. It may seem like a boring topic to a lot of people, but it really is deeper than the surface. And one of the examples that I wanted to give is Chester Bennington.
Amen.
If any of you know who Chester Bennington was, he was the lead singer for the rock group Linkin Park, and he passed away. I would say he passed away from a broken soul.
Yep.
And many people say, is that possible? It is.
Yep.
It is very possible because Chester, if you've listened to any of his music, you will have an understanding of his struggles and how he was putting it out there in his music about his ego, and not necessarily when people think ego, they think bravado, they think machismo, they think that kind of stuff. That's not what ego depletion is. Ego is your feeling of confidence, your feeling of self-worth, your feeling of direction, and your feeling of control. So whenever you're losing control, it's kind of like a pincushion or a pin in a balloon. If you stick it in, air's going to escape slowly, right? But the one time that you pull it out, that air is going to seep out very quickly.
Yep.
So the depletion would be the air leaving the balloon quite slowly. So what do you know about Chester, Nina?
What do I know about Chester? I will tell anybody and everybody that the only way to really feel is to listen to their songs with the lyrics. Because some of their songs are so hard that if you're not reading the lyrics, you can miss the lyrics because you get so wrapped up in the music of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so their songs are, I mean, I used to think, golly, they wrote my life. They wrote every feeling I have. They were writing songs for me. You know, here you go, Kelly, because y'all know my real name's Kelly, you know. But here you go, Kelly. This one will get you through this one. You know, or something else would happen and it was, here you go, Kelly, we wrote this one, you know. And Chester is hands down the best vocalist, the best front man. He was the all-around package. And what people don't realize is that he was sexually abused as a child. And
Yeah.
he had to keep it secret and everything because he didn't want his father to think he was weak or anything like that. And so he got over that. And when he tried out for Linkin Park, he was in a beat-up car that didn't run. He was sleeping in his car. It didn't even have blinkers or anything like that. And so he literally went from a nothing kid that was being bullied and molested, going through the alcohol and the drugs and everything. And then he gets brought in by Lincoln Park. Well, the first thing he's got to do to do that success is he has to overcome himself and overcome the addiction.
And that is kind of like what we're going to talk about tonight is addiction. So I'm going to play 30 seconds, count it down, Nina. Let me know when it's at 25. We can get away with 30 seconds, okay? So
Okay. Hang on.
Okay. Y'all listen
Okay.
to this song. This was one of the last songs that he wrote before he passed. It's called One More Light. Close your eyes and listen to the lyrics. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit. Let's see if I can pick it back up once. I'm going to try it again because we did interrupt the song. So let's try it again. Here we go.
Okay.
So you get the gist of it. The rest of the song, I recommend that you go and listen to that song because it tells you so much in so little time. And it's almost like all these entertainers, they have their song where they're saying goodbye without saying goodbye, if you understand what I mean by that.
Oh, yeah, he definitely knew.
Yeah, he was saying goodbye without saying goodbye. And, you know, it's bugging me because I'm not used to being on panel with shades on. I don't know how certain creators do it. You can't see a damn thing. I mean, honestly, you can't.
I wouldn't even try it.
It's driving me nuts. But, you know, you do what you got to do. Anyways, so let's say hi to some of the people in the chat. Nina, can you say hi to them? Because I can't really read out what their names are.
Oh, let's see. We've got Rondi. Hello. We've got Sirius, because she is always serious. And then we have me. We have you. We have Texas Ranger. He asked me touch or transfer. And I don't know who Pappy is because Pappy's not showing up for me. Who's Pappy? Oh, never mind. Sirius calls him Pappy.
She called Texas Ranger Pappy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what we've got.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. Everybody else is on the watching some of the other conspiracy trains. They'll come back. I mean, they will.
Well, see, now that's what I've always said about YouTube is on TikTok, once my live ended, it was gone. Poof. Didn't exist anymore. So y'all do have replay.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it, Nina. I really am not because, you know, I've been doing this long enough to know that when it matters to people, they will show up. And if it doesn't really matter to them, all the accolades and all the way it goes and all that stuff, where were you when we were live? We let you know we're going to be live. Where'd you go? Did you go and listen to some other creator and all their bullshit about the conspiracies? You know, because that's all it is at this point. And, you know, I'm glad the people that are here. I'm happy that you are here. I'm very thankful you're here. And it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality of the people that show up and stay. Thank you so much for being here. You know?
I'll tell anybody I would rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Yeah. So let's talk about the addiction and let's talk about how it encompasses Bryan. Because we've known for a very long time that he was once addicted to heroin. And it could be speculation. It could be just me thinking outside the box. It could be you thinking outside the box. But I myself do not believe that it took a sober person to go into that house and do what they did on a sober mind. I would believe that they would have had to have some kind of chemical, some kind of rush pushing them through the boundaries of normal feelings and all this other stuff when it comes to taking people's lives. I could be wrong. What do you think about that?
But see, I just
Speak freely, Nina.
No, because I'm conflicted on that. I guess that's the one thing that I haven't been able to solidify, I guess, just totally in my mind is if he relapsed, if he didn't relapse. And, because there's a lot that I say, no, he didn't. But then there's a lot that says, okay, maybe he did. But at either way, see, I'm like you. I can't see myself. I can't see myself driving 10 miles knowing what I'm fixing to do.
I mean, it's always played on my mind because most of these other killers that we talk about, they had issues with some kind of substance. And it goes against the human psyche to be able to kill without remorse. Not everybody can be doing that with a sober mind. If you can, that's a real evil person right there. You know what I mean?
I started to say, if you can, I don't want to know you.
That's a real evil person. And that kind of goes into this ego depletion that we're talking about. It all corresponds together. And Nina and I have really taken the time, not conjunctively, but, I've done work on it. She's done work on it. And we understand it enough to really co-present it. So.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, whoa, was that me?
That was me. I'm sorry.
No. But
that was you. What the hell, Nina?
Sorry, Gage. But when we have worked on it together because we have discussed it a lot, just we haven't dedicated a show to it.
Right.
And, all of us go through ego depletion. We go through ego depletion a lot in our lives. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that ego depletion, you can't, it's sort of like being, you ran out of energy. You're just done. Mm-hmm. You can't go anymore. You're overworked, you're overschooled, you're overstudied, you're over with your girlfriend, you're over with your boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? All these different directions, all these decisions, to where when you sit down, you're just like, I'm done. But usually we can eat something or do something to start pulling our way back out of it.
Right. And since we're talking about the depletion, Sirius says, I don't know if he was having some kind of psychotic episode prior to the murder, but it seems like he was in a lot freer after the murders, almost like he had shed his skin or something.
Absolutely.
That's a good thought. Nikki Bobby, how you doing? Some of the other people that came in, thank you so much for being here. Since we're talking about the depletion, we're talking about addiction because it all goes hand in hand. If you know about addiction, you do have an understanding that the addiction is the mental component of your psyche. It is a deterrent of what rules your every thought. It's a coping. The addiction is everything.
You become your addiction.
Right. The substance use is your coping skill. So if Bryan was using heroin at such a young age, and we've discussed that most people that I've ever heard of do not use heroin right off the bat. That is not something that people do not use. Do you know if he was shooting it?
Yes.
So he was shooting it.
Yes.
See, that's hard.
And the reason I know that is because one of the guys that he used to get high with did an interview and said that he would try to come to him and tell him that he was clean, but he would see the tracks.
Okay. So if he was shooting it, that means that it progressed very quickly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you go from being this normal teenager to, hey, I'm going to put a needle in my arm and shoot heroin.
Yeah, it's not real normal to be that way.
I mean, you lose 150 pounds. What I think it was like within. I know he went from 1 year being a big guy, and anyway, he started losing weight. But then they said that when he went back into school, that people didn't even recognize him.
Well, the losing weight was probably due to not wanting to eat.
Right.
You could be abusing opiates and it doesn't make you hungry. So you lose a lot of weight on abusing opiates.
Right. He got clean he got clean anywhere from 2016 to 2018.
Okay, so many people do not know this stuff. They just, if you're not in the medical field or you haven't deep dove to certain parts of this behavior, then you don't know this stuff. All you know is Koberger lost weight. Koberger did this. Koberger did that. Okay, so you're being very simplistic to say that this is all you know. It's okay not to know, but what has kept people from deep diving further? It's kind of like this diagram states. You're going to have to read it because it's explain what the id and the ego and the superego is, Nina.
Okay, let me pull it up to where I can read it. I've got it saved, so.
Okay. We all have this, guys. I mean, this is a part of us. Each and every one of us possesses these three elements to our belief cycle.
And one thing, I mean, I did not know. I used to think that was ID, not id.
Yeah, it's id. So what did it say about the id?
I knew he was going to do that. Okay, the id. The id is instinctive and primitive, entirely unconscious, pleasure principle, center of wants and primal desires, demands immediate satisfaction, born with it, located in subconscious, unsubconsciously tries to satisfy basic sexual and aggressive drives, pleasure principle.
Okay, so it's very primitive.
Yes.
We all are born with it. We all have this capacity. So it's very, as you said, it's very, I'm going to go off camera. It's very pleasure principle, center of wants and primal desires. And basically our primal desires are social, sexual, and security. We demand immediate satisfaction. We want it now. We want what we want right now. And it satisfies our unconscious sexual and aggressive drives. And it's the pleasure principle, which is based in the limbic system. The ego is the rationality, ensure that the id wants are acceptable in the real world. They mostly located in the conscious part. They moderate between id and superego. There's a logical aspect of personality. They're the conscious part of the personality with executive powers and reality principle. What you should know about this one, the most important part of this, is it ensures what the id wants and is acceptable in the real world. And the personality trait that it encompasses most, it's the power reality principle, which your ego runs your id. And I hope this is making sense to you guys.
And, well, you put it, I mean, just to put it as far as Warning Label would put it, this is the real us. This is the real us before we start realizing everything and normals. I mean, the norms and what's accepted and what's not accepted. And, it's sort of like Adam and Eve before they ate from the tree. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then they ate from the tree and it was like, oh my gosh, I got to get a fig leaf, because it was like, we can't do that. It's not accepted.
And then we get to the superego, which says this is the sense of right and wrong, both in conscious and unconsciousness. Learn right and wrong to control you. The moral aspect of your personality that represents internalized ideals and provides standards for judgment. What we should do, the right and wrong, the conscious prevents us from being morally bad, doing things that we know we shouldn't. ego ideal motivates us to do what is morally right. So, as we've heard about Mr. Koberger, the individual stated very early on, even though he was a teen, he stated very early on that he lacked empathy. So, empathy is deep rooted in all three of these. It definitely can tell you the difference between right and wrong. It can definitely tell you how something feels and how something is appropriated in the reality of your now. But he demonstrated a lot in his writings that he was not neither here nor there. He felt that he had no grasp with reality, and sometimes he felt like he didn't even really know where he was. Nina?
Yes. And that's the thing about it is, I mean, everybody wants to talk about like Tappa Talk, for instance. And they want to say, but that was just a teenager writing. You know, if people read what I wrote as a teenager, I totally get that and I understand that. But I can understand a teenager maybe writing and staying at it maybe 3 months. I mean, this is a site that he dedicated 2 years to. So to me, it's a little deeper than just a teenager's words.
Okay. So think about what you just said there. It goes beyond the Tappa Talks because everything has a beginning, everything has a middle, and everything has a perpetual future or the right now. So where are we right now based on what his early writings were saying? Nina?
Based on his early writings, that he is a troubled teen. He either is fighting against what he knows he is, or he is fighting against not being seen, not being anything, you know, being invisible. And he could be, I mean, the wording and stuff, you know, we're talking 2009 to 2011. So we're talking 15, 16 years old. And the words that he uses, you know, the dissociation, I mean, he with the time that he dedicated to this, he became like, people ask him questions and stuff about visual snow, about, you know, because he had studied and he was self-diagnosed with it. Now, I think what happened is when he left the group is when he had started the Kaufman diet. And that's when he realized that maybe he didn't have visual snow. And he started the diet and the kickboxing and everything because of the candida overgrowth, which is yeast and toxins in your body.
Okay, let's go back to the dissociation.
Yes.
Because we never talk long on that, and I don't understand why people don't. Because that is a big proportionate issue in this whole thing.
Yes.
Dissociative disorder is a capability to differentiate between reality and an altered state of mind. So, if this individual was dissociative at any portion of his teenage upbringing, then he used that as a coping skill throughout his teens into the formative years of, by the time he was 26, that's when the brain fully matures. So by 26, the dissociation would have been wearing off. About 28 to 32, that's whenever most people have that conscious moment where that superpower that they've used all through their formative years wears off and they're faced with life on life's terms. And if you've gone through your life not being present in reality due to using drugs, alcohol, criminal behavior, whatever it might be, once you reach that point where you sober up and you still are relying on a dissociative precursor to get you through life to blink out, so to speak, when that doesn't work anymore, you go back into the primal needs as a human being. And I believe at that point, he started understanding that things were changing and he was losing control.
Right.
I'm not diagnosing him by no means, okay? By no means am I diagnosing him. But what I'm saying is, you know, he was flailing in and out of reality through a lot of years.
Yes. So much so that he even makes the statement that people will say stuff like, you remember your childhood and stuff like that. And he even makes the statement that he doesn't remember a lot, because of his dissociative.
Well, our hippocampus plays a role in us remembering things either short or long term. So if he had any kind of damage to that area, it could also present a factor of him not remembering a lot.
Right.
It's not as cut and dry as, we're trying to make it tonight. It's a lot deeper, but we're going to do our best, right? Records show that after the initial altercation with the professor on September 23rd, Mr. Koberger met with the university official to discuss norms of a professional behavior. By October 21st, a professor emailed him about the ways in which you had failed to meet your expectation as a TA thus far. I guess that says in the program.
Yeah.
So if he had those meetings, think about what we're talking about today. To discuss norms of professional behavior. At this point, you shouldn't have to be having this kind of conversation with a 28-year-old person who is in his doctorate level of studies. It should be understood. Well, these are the basics of how you are a TA, and you don't cross these lines, you don't do this, you don't do that. It should be a norm, but for some reason, he was having issues with this.
But take note, Gage, how quickly. I mean, we know he moved there in June?
Well, let's stick with the facts, okay? Let's not all wander off into those trails, okay? Because we'll be here all night.
No, I was just talking about because that's dated for like September and October.
Right. But the important part is about the professional behavior, the norms.
Right.
You would believe that somebody who had taken on that position would already understand his expectations of being a TA.
Right.
And the fact that he was already being called out about it, what that say about his social skills or the ability to relate to other people?
But should that, a lot. Now, keep in mind that we had no idea when we've been. Never mind. Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
Because I don't know if the ASD diagnosis explains a lot of this.
Well, it could.
Okay.
It could. We're not trying to debunk or make something.
Right. And I didn't want anybody to think that's what we were trying to do.
No, we're not. We're basically just talking about this situation as we know it.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And nobody has an understanding of this better than professionals who work with this on a daily basis. So this says, according to the letter, Koberger allegedly had an altercation with the professor he was assisting, John Snyder, on September 23rd. A professor allegedly emailed Koberger about the ways in which you had failed to meet your expectations as a TA thus far in the semester. By October 21st, the outlet reports. We'll understand what you're saying as far as it was early on in the semester, but think about the whole situation as far as him going from Pennsylvania all the way to WSU.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the things that I've wanted to make a video on was the social shock that he had to be in.
Yeah. But also, did he have any of these types of behaviors with other people? Like,
Oh, before WSU.
Like I said, there's patterns in people's lives. There's beginnings, there's middles, and then there's the present, the future. So
Oh, yes. He had problems before WSU.
okay.
Yeah,
But many people want to minimize that. They want
exactly.
to minimize that because they want to say that he wasn't socially awkward. He wasn't. This was due to what we found out with the ASD or autism.
Right.
But as we're looking at this, I don't know how it looks to you, but it looks like a person who has to be led in certain areas in order to excel. Like if he's given the whole throne, he starts to struggle and get power hungry and wants control because for whatever reason it starts to falter on him. It starts to cave in and get too big. And that is also a part of individuals who've been addicted to substances in their lives. When life becomes too big for them, they start to self-sabotage. And I've spoken on that multiple times, and that goes along with this ego depletion. When your ego starts to being depleted, you resort to old behaviors. It's unconscious. You don't really realize it's happening until the full-blown situation happens, and then you're so deep into it, you can't get out. Are you still here?
Oh, yeah, I'm listening.
It said the termination letter stated that the department leaders met with Koberger to discuss an improvement plan on November 2nd, which was 11 days before the 4 students were stabbed. You sent me all this stuff, so what's your thought on this?
Well, I mean, I think that with that one, I mean, you can see. I tried to do them in order by date because you can see how it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. So even after the conversation of you've got to work on your behavior, he didn't try to correct the behavior or say, okay, dude, we got to slow down because we're getting ourselves in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Maybe go have a talk with that id. You know, he didn't do any of that. He just kept progressing.
So the November 2nd, he got the termination letter?
No, on November the 2nd, they let him know that he wasn't improving.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's still going down instead of picking himself back up.
Okay. So at this point, if you get a letter and you feel that you're losing control, so to speak.
Yes. And I think that's what
you and I both know what it's like to be in this position when the walls seem to be closing in around you and you're lacking oxygen. Here's one more kick to the throat, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, I mean, it's when you're just deflated, you know, and I mean, the best thing that one of the most recent that I have to compare it to is I made when in one of my videos, I made the statement that building a channel sometimes can be self-deflating.
Yeah.
You know, because when you're trying to build your, you know, community up and all that, and, you know, the numbers aren't there, you're not getting the views or blah, blah, blah. It's deflating. And to me, that's a way of ego depletion because I'm going down instead of maintaining and going up.
Right. Well, people are talking about this being an obvious pattern. Well, it's obvious to us because we've been looking at this for 2+ years. But if you were looking at this just as overhead, you would probably be thinking, well, this is just a normal pattern of somebody moving this distance away from home, starting brand new, not knowing anybody, starting a new job, getting his life in order, struggling with making adjustments needed to be successful. And I'm sure that's why they were lenient on him in the beginning. I don't believe that they thought anything out of the norm. Rather, he was struggling because he was struggling, not because he was weird, he was awkward, he was any of that. He was struggling and he was doing what he was doing because that's what people do. If you go and you interview TAs, they're going to tell you you want to be at your best to be showing the people who are up above you that you can do the job that you're hired to do. Isn't that what we all do when we take a job?
Yes.
We want to show our supervisors that we're the best at what, they made a good choice, but we're so scared to mess up that being scared to mess up, we start messing up even more. And granted, some of the areas where he was messing up, we look at it now because we all know what happened from afar. We weren't there at the moment. It's not like, well, he was acting a little closer to a person or grating hard, or they viewed that as being creepy or antisocial or any of that. I mean, we view that now because we're able to see it. But then it wasn't viewed like that, was it?
No, I mean, the thing about it is yes, we're talking about Kohberger right now, but this affects everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're using him as the subject, but, the thing about it is it can progress and get anybody to, if they're going through what he's going through. It could be, a generic killer. It doesn't have to just be Kohberger. It's that state of mind where you just say, F it, and you go do it.
And I don't believe that this is going to be a part of the trial, so it's easy to discuss because, this is not going to make it in the trial.
Not at all.
They're going to talk about history and pattern based early on in life that have developed into who he became today, not necessarily where he faltered at the university. This is normal behavior. People might not agree, but, that's why we agree to disagree, right?
Right. Every bit of it's normal behavior. It's what we go through all the time. It's just that sometimes your mentality breaks and it's like, okay, that's it, I'm done.
Right. After the Idaho students were murdered, Kohberger also allegedly was involved in a second altercation with a Professor Snyder on December 9th, according to the letter. So this is a second altercation.
Yep.
See how they put the altercation in quotes. Was it really that big of an altercation that they would have needed to put quotes?
But why do that? And if it was just an argument, why didn't they just say argument?
Right. Altercation sounds like he was very hostile.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, altercation is definitely a progression of argument.
Right. I mean, if we're being open-minded, then, we're not really going one way or the other, are we?
No, not at all. I am strictly talking from this right here.
And this is after the Idaho students were murdered. So they had an altercation afterwards.
Right.
So he wasn't in that calm state of mind. Could he have been spiraling back and forth? Because as you've identified in some of your other findings, part of the ego depletion is depression and anxiety.
Oh yeah, I mean the ego depletion. This is I'm going to explain a little bit about that. Is the irritability, trouble concentrating, ringing in the ears that drive them crazy just from that ringing, and also goes along with the visual snow. They have insomnia. They have the depersonalization, which goes right along with what he was talking about in Tappa Talk. Basically brain fog, everything. But basically what happens when you reach that, I guess that where you're just not digging yourself up, is that's basically your self-control saying, you know what, I give up. I'm not in control anymore. I may be a vegan and stuff like this, but damn it, I'm going to eat a steak. You see what I'm saying? It's like you go against your morals. You stop listening to what your rules are, what your, so id is taking over.
Okay. What did you mean by having this one in there? It says multiple stab wounds of 3 females and 1 male student indicate rage. Most stabbings are defensive or a part of crime designed to disable or to accomplish a crime. Multiple stab wounds indicate passion, a personal attack. Where did the rage come from?
Right. And this is from a paper that I was researching, and it's going to go into, I don't know if you're ready to go there, but it goes into the threatened egotism.
Okay.
And
we'll get there.
Okay. I just didn't want to go ahead because you got this going on.
Well, this was at the very beginning. They were calling it a crime of passion.
Right.
They're saying that it was a personal attack on one of the females, or maybe more than one. But as this indicates, where did that rage come from? So we're talking about the ego-depleted individual.
And if you'll also remember, Mabbitt, one of the statements that she made was this was one angry person.
Exactly. And by no means are we excusing what the perpetrator did, whoever it might have been.
Bryan Kohberger.
But think about the ego depletion that we're talking about and the buildup of an emotionally unstable individual. An individual who has based his life on certain belief systems, certain morals, certain values, and certain beliefs in success and failures, and certain abilities to have driven goals, attributes of attachment and detachment. All these things go into breaking down the personality of a person.
Right.
I don't believe it. A lot of people have broken down Mr. Kohberger's personality. And you know why that is, I believe, is because they don't understand the capability of a Jekyll and Hyde.
Right, yes.
Most addicts have that Jekyll and Hyde. They have that two personality. And it's interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, that, when I first started, it was Nina_Kelly. And that's my name on TikTok because my grandchildren named me Nina. So to me, that's like, if your grandchild names you, that's, so that's like present me. Kelly was the addict and you know what I'm saying? So it was sort of like putting them together and making them one, but keeping them separate.
Right. So if you've never been addicted to any substances or had any kind of emotional traumatic battle that you've had to have kind of an understanding with yourself and overcome. Now, I'm not talking about generalized overcoming life issues. I'm talking about the deficiency of having life so misunderstood in your mind that you have to renegotiate it and make it up every day to even understand where your own life is going. Sometimes you get your awareness from other people. You get your awareness from other people's statements. You start mimicking other people, their mannerisms. You start achieving success, not because it is your success, but because you're mimicking a life that is not your own. So if you're mimicking somebody else's success and your personality is being inflated by that, because it's not yours and you don't know how to foundate it, once it starts crumbling or you've reached the end, so to speak, you start depleting in numerous ways. And that's the psyche area that Nina's talking about. Are you there?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's the thing about it is, I don't know how many times that I have said, as far as Kohberger is concerned, he has the biggest kudos from me for the things that he did overcome. So I will never try to take that away from him. But for some reason, he can't hold. And that's probably that self-saboteur.
Kind of like this statement says right here, Ferraro has his own theory about Koberger's alleged motive. I think he had this compulsion, this need, this necessity to do it. And he's probably always wanted to do it. And finally said, F it, I'm going to do it. And I've said that many times as well. And I'm not just blowing smoke. Go look at my earlier videos. If you've followed me for any length of time, you've heard me talk like that.
Oh, yeah.
I've always believed that, it didn't take a lot for him to go into this home and murder 4 people. Because if you look at the pattern of his life, if you look at the pattern of people that have interacted with him, I even stated in one live, I said, most people have individuals to vouch for them that will come forward and say, well, don't be talking like that about Bryan. There's no way he could have done this. He was this, he was that, he was this. Have friends that could have said, look, Bryan was a great guy, blah, blah, blah. The only people we got is a person on YouTube who didn't even make it to a News Nation interview saying that he knew him. So what's that tell you about his knowledge of him? You know what I mean? So
well, the reason I did this one is because Ferraro is the same guy that used to do heroin with him.
Right. I remember.
So he knows him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't I went to high school with him. He knows Bryan at Bryan's worst time.
Right. So is it clear to say that the beginning parts of Bryan's life could have been deeply depleted with a lot of trauma, a lot of narcissism, a lot of unrealistic expectations about success, about being a man in general? I mean, just certain things like that.
Well, see, I've always said that between the mother and the two sisters, not anything against them, but sometimes a woman-dominated house depletes the man.
Well, it does to an extent, unless the man is soft.
But there you go.
Okay, I don't really want to talk about this tonight.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is the threat. This is threatened egotism.
Okay, this says threatened egotism can cause people to feel anger, disrespected, and undervalued. It can also lead to exaggerated perception of an offense and aggression as a form of self-defense, revenge, or to achieve desired images. So we were going to put this in Bryan's case. What was your thought on this?
Okay, now Roy Baumeister is like the ego depletion and threatened egotism king of psychology. Okay, this is he wrote and introduced it. And so when I researched it, I was thinking of ego depletion escalating to threatened egotism because, that's the way that I was doing it. So I emailed Roy Baumeister, and I couldn't believe it. He actually emailed me back. And he says that even though he was the writer, that he had never thought of putting them together, but the outcome, if they collided, could be bad.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, it sort of confirmed that I wasn't just a total idiot making stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure he wouldn't have even written me back because, there was no reason to. And that was the reason I emailed him, was I wanted to know just how far off I was from it or anything like that. And so when he wrote me back, it sort of validated that I wasn't just trying to piece pieces together that didn't fit.
Right. So where it says, if you threaten egotism, it can cause people to feel anger, disrespected, and undervalued. So this is total speculation here, okay? the avenues that were happening to Bryan in his life, the build-ups, the faults, the failures, the triumphs, the disheartening, the disappointment, the overwhelmingness, all these things, he landed WSU. And within a month, he starts having issues.
Yep.
You and I both know that we are all creatures of habit, right?
Absolutely.
So whatever was going on at WSU was probably going on. Tell me the college before DeSales. What was the college that he went to?
Was it Hampton? Northampton?
I get that the one. So
Yeah.
So from WSU, probably at DeSales, he was doing the same thing that he started doing at WSU. And from
But now keep in mind that at DeSales, that was during COVID, so most of his studies were online.
But I'm not talking about. I'm talking about possibly the digital stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought you was talking about the problems with like females and stuff.
No, I'm talking about the digital stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, was he doing that at Hampton College? Was he doing that?
No, at Hampton, he got. That's where he got. Wait a minute. Let me find it. Let's see. He's got a master. Is that the? Yeah, he got his master's in psychology from Hampton.
Okay, that would have been after DeSales.
No, he went from DeSales to WSU, right? No, Hampton may be where he got where he did his online schooling.
Well, you go bachelor's, master's, and then doctorate.
Okay.
So one of those is a 4-year university.
So he's got a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the criminal justice would have been at DeSales.
Right.
And then maybe the bachelor's was
Hampton.
Yeah.
So if he dealt with this situation and it's attributed to his ASD, then he's had this his whole life.
Right.
It may have been treated with the drug use. It may have been treated with the weight loss, addictive pattern. But what I've always tried to point out, and people don't really want to talk about this, but I talk about it, is cross addiction. When you put one down, you always pick another one up.
Absolutely.
So where did the pornography fit in? Where did he pick that up?
I don't know anything about that.
I believe that that's a huge component to everything that's going on in this case.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you've never shared that.
Well. Because it's
All
not
right, everybody, y'all heard it for the first time.
It's not an easy topic to talk about, especially in this realm. You know what I mean? So you have to put in there somewhere that had to become a cross addiction for him. Because it's a fantasy.
Well, yes,
all of this is about a fantasy, Nina.
Yeah, because I do know now because I sent you the his post about a paid site and stuff like that.
Okay.
You remember that?
Okay,
I put it in Discord.
This is some of my thoughts, Queen.
Right. But so, I mean, I said I didn't know anything about it, but then I was like, wait a minute, you do know something about it. I just didn't put it together as pornography.
Yeah. Nobody's ever said it, Queen. I've always said it in different variations on my lives. But it's the fantasy aspect. Many killers have it.
And that would explain the knife.
Huh?
That would explain the knife instead of a gun or strangling or.
Well, if you're going to use a gun, that's going to deteriorate what it is that you're trying to. It's kind of like shooting a deer. You shoot a deer in a specific area, right? You don't shoot it somewhere else because that's going to make the meat bad, right?
Right.
So if your fantasy is a particular area of a female, why would you destroy it?
Right.
So a knife's not going to destroy certain areas, right?
Yeah, you're going to choose which ones.
1998 study published in J. Peirce Psychological found that threatened egotism is more important cause of aggression than low self-esteem. You see
And
this.
see, that really shocked me because I'm thinking that threatened egotism would come from low self-esteem, but it doesn't. Threatened egotism comes from you having your esteem built up and then you feeling like somebody disrespected it. I guess it's that masculine, what is it? The masculine something, you know,
Yeah.
it's a bad masculinity.
So I know this is all this stuff is interesting. It says many people thought that he probably had low self-esteem, which could have been. But the common theme throughout these studies is that those who perceive a threat to their high self-esteem are most likely to perpetrate violence.
Yes.
So what have we always heard? He wanted to be.
He had to be the smartest. He had to be the best.
Yes. He had to be the smartest. He had to be the best. So, if any of these, I wouldn't say any of these females had any kind of connection, so to speak. If anything, he was probably rejected by these females.
But see,
I believe the component would be a lot more social online stuff than in real life. If it was in real life, then it could have been casual. But then it would have been kind of like the you. Well, I'm watching you.
right.
You just don't know that we're going out. You just
Right.
don't know that I'm watching you undress through your window. You
Right.
just don't know that I walked you home. You just don't know that I did this. You just don't know that I did that. I could see that.
Yeah, and I can see that empowering him too.
Yeah. But also doesn't mean that he was just pointing out one. I would say that if he was, because if Maddie and Kaylee were as close as they said they were, there's no way that he would have noticed one without noticing the other.
Right. That's true. I mean,
And if Maddie was the target, Kaylee would have been the bother. She would have been the bothersome one.
right.
You were messing with my infatuation.
Same thing with Anna and Ethan.
Every time you're around, or every time she's around, you're around. Even the night that I go into the residence, you're there. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's one of the things too that even though they weren't a couple, if you think about it, couple, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
So this is an interesting one. It says the common theme throughout these studies is those who perceive a threat to their high self-esteem are most likely to perpetrate violence, not the low self-esteem. So many times, even I did it just now, due to the rejection. It wouldn't have been the rejection. It would have been something else. If he thought highly of himself, what would have pissed him off so much to bring him lower than he thought of himself? That's the question. What would, if any of these people had any inclusion in his life, what would have caused it? If there was nothing, then he just picked this house and killed them at random. End of story.
Right.
End of story.
But the thing about it is, if you're at the state that we are talking about in your life, And the thing with threatened egotism is, if you'll notice, it keeps talking about the violence and everything and how it can seem like self-defense to them. So they seem it seems justifiable to them. So, we all know how spirited Xana was. And the way I can see it is her and her sister walking down the sidewalk at WSU and him looking up and seeing her. And you know how playful she was. Maybe he said something, spoke to her. And in a playful way, Xana, not wanting to hurt feelings or anything, she just sort of said, ha, 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 something like that. To him, that just punched him in his gut. That just devalued him lower than he already was devalued. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but I don't.
Okay.
I do, but I don't. Because I don't believe that he was socially inept enough to really take a thought like that as a slight. It would have had to be something that was a pattern, something that led up to, okay, now I get it. Because supposedly he wasn't very, very knowledgeable of rational cues. You get what I'm saying? Social cues. So
Okay.
it would have had to be something that was very, like if he was in a lecture, like he was teaching a lecture or something, and they were back there laughing and joking and throwing stuff at him, I could see that could deplete his ego. You get what I'm saying? That would
Yeah.
be more than just him walking by and people laughing at him. I would see
No, I
that.
mean, yeah, I get that. What I'm talking about is like with the ego, you're already in that ego depletion. So you're already devaluing yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so your ego is already depleted from everything going on at WSU. Your ego is already depleted from, you moving 2,500 miles away and blah, 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 and everything going wrong at your feet. So your ego has already took that punch and punch and punch. And so to where when I talk about the threatened egotism, is it's where their ego's already down and then somebody just kicks it in their face again. So not, and yeah, he didn't pick up on cues and stuff, but maybe in this state, he can take a laugh and say, whoa, wait a minute. That stabbed a little bit. You see what I'm saying?
I do. I just don't see him being that socially cute. His social cuteness just doesn't, based on what people have talked about, it's not as keen as yours is right now. And obviously mine is as well. Like we're talking openly with good dialogue. He's the way people describe him, he's incapable of doing what we're doing without it involving him giving a long and drawn out synopsis of the conversation. You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not normal. It's not a normal communication. So I
Yeah.
don't
He,
see
he,
him
he
just
doesn't, he
coming up.
doesn't, he doesn't
Right.
take that breath.
Right. But it has to be on an intellectual upper level type of speech. It's almost like he's giving a dictation about physics or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he asked him, hey, like even when they were pulled over, where are you headed? His first thing was Thai food.
Yes.
He didn't say we're heading home to Pennsylvania, which most people probably would have said that, right?
Right. Exactly.
His is more concrete base where are you
Yeah.
headed? Okay.
There's no gray.
No gray at all. It just where are you headed? Thai
Right.
food.
Yeah, exactly. Not the long answer, the really short one.
Right. But if you were going to have a conversation with a female, kind of like this says, threatened egotism has been measured in a variety of ways as well, such as perceived disrespect, wounded pride, insults, verbal abuse, or unfavorable feedback. So his professors were giving him unfavorable feedback.
Right.
Who was giving him the insults or verbal abuse? Where would he have perceived disrespect? Would that have came from the police?
Well, I mean, if you get brushed off, that could be a form of disrespect. If you have your students that are questioning your grading, That could be a form of disrespect.
Okay.
Because
But
if you'll remember, they said that some of them even went to him, because he was trying to grade them above what level they were at.
they may have seen that as that, but I don't particularly see him as thinking that, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Let's go to
No,
the
I'm just saying that could be taken as a form of disrespect.
yeah. Circumstances inflated, unstable, and tentative beliefs in self-superiority may be the most prone to encountering threats and hence to causing violence. The mediating process may involve directing anger outward as a way of avoiding a downward revision of the self-concept.
In other words, don't give it to yourself. Go give it to them.
So, if we're building this up, what was the breaking point, in your opinion?
I think the breaking point was when, August something happened. It was actually anyway, I know September the 9th was like the first altercation. And then by October is when he's getting his letters saying they're not accepted. I think by now his ego is so shattered because of the social shock, of being, I don't want to say looked down on, but, they talked about how he would stand off to himself or, that they knew he was different. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I get that. But what makes people view him as such a weak-minded person?
Oh, no. I don't think they view him as a weak-minded person. I think what they view is a guy who is 28 years old, done all this, knows all this. Hello, hang on.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like whenever an individual, I've heard other creators talk about it. I've heard multiple people talk about poor little Bryan, poor Bryan this, poor Bryan that. What we're talking about tonight is not, I could be wrong, but it's not bottoming out, but actually filling up the cup to commit these crimes. Because I don't believe that he was a weak individual. I don't believe that he was an individual that lacked the capacity to commit these type of crimes. So we're not really going to talk about rapists. Bryan Kohberger was known for his rampant sexism among those he had worked with and had a reputation for grading female students harsher than men, multiple sources told Chris Cuomo. This is my belief on the harsh grading, and I could be wrong.
Okay.
I believe that he graded the females harshly as a way to get their attention.
Could be.
If I get your attention because your grade is less than a male, then you're going to have to come and talk to me.
Right.
So therefore, I'm going to have interaction with you.
Right.
It's the ability to get you in my office so that we can have dialogue.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no way that I can talk to you because I'm your TA and you're the student, and we don't cross that barrier. But this way, I can start the fantasizing of whoever it is that I'm fantasizing about. This man had a fantasy world he lived in, I believe. I believed he lived in two worlds. And on November 13, 2022, those worlds collided. Like I asked you, what was the catalyst? Was it 247 he got in his car? What was the catalyst that made him leave his apartment to go commit the murders? What was the catalyst? Something had to happen for that to blow up like it did. That's a big dog.
That's the pit. Sorry, but that was a loud bark. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I totally see that. But I think, I mean, what caused it to just that night?
Because all this really, I mean, up until 2:47 when he got in his car
Right.
to drive.
And I mean, I've wondered, okay.
Everything before then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I've wondered, say, from 9 p.m. until 2:30, what are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you researching? I mean, what are you doing in all of those hours before you get in your car and drive that 10 miles?
And that's the bigger question. Because, these things that we're talking about right now is great stuff. But did this really lead to the eventual happening? Because
see, like that one right there, I don't mean to interrupt, but read the highlighted part. WSU held a harassment training seminar in the wake of those complaints. When he left the university, they had a damn harassment seminar. You don't just do that for kicks and giggles.
But to be fair, do you think he was the only one?
The only one what? That they had the seminar for?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know because there was a lot of stuff going on with WSU officers then too.
I mean, quality control people, they do these seminars. Sexual harassment used to not even be a thing.
Right.
And I could see where this was probably getting out of hand.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing about it is all these different ones, if it would be different if you were just talking one, okay, I had an altercation with my professor, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's one in here talking about that he followed a girl to her car and scared her to death.
Well, what did he do that would
Well,
have...
I mean,
that's the important part. I mean, the end result is important, but I always look up to the lead up to, and that's how I look at things. It's not about, okay, well, the fire started. Well, what led up to the fire?
Well, I think that he was pouring the gasoline on it when he was like over there in that area 23 times.
Well, I'm talking about the girl that he followed to her car.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they said that he would get into such arguments, and I think I've got some of that in here too, is to where one girl got so frustrated and upset, she left her purse and everything and stormed out of the room. And this was a student.
Okay. So what?
I mean, it talks about his temper, how he could just, get angry at the drop of a hat. I mean, there was so much more going on at WSU than what people want to. Okay, so he followed a girl to the car and she got scared. No, there's a whole lot more to it than that.
Well, I know there is, Dina.
No, I'm not talking about you.
I know there is. But what I'm saying is, was he in relapse mode at this point? Because that is the ego depletion, so to speak. In so many words. Was he in relapse mode or was he using? There had to be one or the other.
Right. Or was the insomnia and the depersonalization and the dissociation and all that colliding and driving him crazy? Hello?
Or did he just have his knife and say, fuck it, I'm going to go kill somebody?
There you go. I mean, there's so many variables. I mean, all I can do is all I can do is imagine being on top of the world and within 2 months, that world crumbling to the ground.
But I mean,
And
that is, if we're going to talk court talk, that is speculatory. You know what I mean? It's being on top of the world. We really can't say he was on top of the world. To us, that means being on top of the world. Look at everything he's overcame. Maybe he never saw a day of pleasure in an entire life.
right,
And all this was total chaos, sadness, instability, irritability, lack of reality, all that. What if it was nothing what people have stated or what we believe as him having good times in college and having a good job and all this stuff? We'd like to think that. We like to think that.
right.
But what if it wasn't like that at all? What if it was torture being Bryan Kohberger? How would that change the narrative in people's minds?
Right.
I
And I
mean,
mean,
go ahead.
well, I mean, I think that I guess that's the reason that when you put that challenge out months ago about getting to know him more than just being the killer, you know what I'm saying? So it's your fault I did all this.
Okay.
And the thing about it is, when you go back and you read the Tappa Talks and the things of the teenage years, you just want to hug that boy and say, you know what? You're going to grow up and you're going to be okay. But then you see the 28-year-old that did this, and you have to wonder, that's what 13 years. Could somebody have seen something that could have helped him?
No, because most people are stuck on what people do for a living. They're
Gotcha.
stuck on the accolade. They're stuck on there's no way that this person could have done that because of this, because of that, or what they do for a living. Like his own father was stuck on him being a doctor.
Right.
He would go everywhere and tell people my son is Dr. Christopher or Dr. Bryan Kohberger.
Right.
And people get stuck on accolades and they get stuck on what you've overcome and where you're at. They very seldom ask you that question. How are you really doing today?
Absolutely.
And if he was disassociated, that means whenever you see those blank picture looks where he's just not even in the room, he's
Right.
not in the room. He's
And I mean,
somewhere else. He's somewhere else.
talking about dissociative, if you think about it, you've got the dissociative where people are like maybe, 5 minutes or whatever. But then the dissociative personality disorder, which used to be multiple personalities, you got to consider that sometimes things are so bad and everything that people go to extremes to protect their mentality.
I've always believed it was a battle between good and evil Bryan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The other guy was the creation of the smoke screen to keep the addict, the weird guy, all this other stuff, the overweight guy from the limelight. I'm going to recreate myself to live in this reality, which is what I want to become. I also believe that not getting that job at the police station.
Oh, yeah.
If he indeed didn't get that job, then that would have played a role in this as well.
Definitely.
Everything is spiraling. And at 28, who's to say he didn't run into Maddie the night or the week before the murders? Why did it have to be the 12 times?
Right, exactly. And the thing about it
could have been the week before.
Right. But I sit here and Gage, that I think that he has known for at least 10 years what was inside him, and he has fought it, and he has tried to overcome it by being the best. That's how he ends up with PhDs and masters and stuff like that. And by the time he gets to WSU and everything starts falling apart, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to be me. It's been inside me for 10 years. I know how to do it. I know how to get away with it. F it. I'm doing it.
I mean, I did a live where I asked people what creepy means to me, because people just throw out there, even the news, they like this right here. Creepy comment toward female staff and customers. What's creepy to me may not be creepy to you.
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, on one of my posts, I put a video on my community post about what is a creepy man.
I mean,
because I was like you, okay, so what does creepy mean?
Well, nobody has ever given me a clear-cut definition, kind of like Jeff is always asking, what is frozen shock phase? He's never gotten a clear-cut answer. That's my question that I haven't gotten a clear-cut answer on. What the hell does creepy comment mean to a female? Nobody has ever given me an answer to what that means.
Well, I know in one report they're talking about the brewery, and it says that he was asking like where they lived and who they were with.
Well, how is that creepy?
You don't think that's creepy? I just met you. Don't ask me where I live and who I'm with.
To a socially awkward individual is perfectly normal.
Right. Yeah, okay, you got that.
Come on, Nina. We're not talking a normal guy here.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
So
he doesn't have that gray area. He wants to know. He's going to ask.
It's kind of like someone who doesn't speak the language. They're going to ask questions that seem offensive to many people, but it's the language barrier. I'm not saying that this is what happened with him.
No, I totally get that. They don't have a filter.
Right. So somebody asks you something, you're like, dang, can you at least buy me coffee first?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if we're talking about Bryan, which we are, that would not be creepy coming out of his mouth. It would be the norm, would it not?
For him, yes.
So what does a creepy person mean? I really want to know. I really want the chat to tell me what their definition is.
And if the chat doesn't tell you, I will tell you to type in what is a creepy man when we get off here and watch a YouTube.
I think it's a personal feeling you get from that person.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Yeah. Creepy to you may not be creepy to me.
No, nothing really creeped me out. So,
Yeah. Yes. I guess creepy would be perception.
Creepy to me. I mean, you running through the hall, down the hall with your underwear over your head would not be creepy. It'd be funny.
Right.
Might creep other people out. Like, what the hell,
Right. Jeff says that it's the discomfort.
So, I'm just stuck on these words because the generation, you go to the gym and you could glance at a female who's working out in yoga pants or short shorts. And I am an older guy. I've seen other guys that are younger than me get accused of being the creeper just for glancing over at somebody. And they never even say a word out of their mouth. They just glance over there or whatever. That's what I'm saying. It's so biased and one-dimensional. That's why I don't like that word, because it doesn't match the meaning.
Right.
How is you working out, me glancing over at you, creep you out? How does that creep you out?
And see, that's the thing about it is, I guess that's where it's perception, because me, I just wave at you and, whatever. But somebody else takes it as creepy.
Right. But you get what I'm saying here?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now, if he was to walk up to you and be like, so, what time you get off?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't that be a pickup line? Why is that creepy?
See, to me, it's not creepy. Creepy to me would be you asking me where I live.
Okay, do you live around here?
Yeah, okay, you might can get by with that because I'm gonna tell you, no, I live in Texas.
Bullshit. What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? Yeah, see, it would be really hard to creep me out.
Rondi wants to know what a creepy girl would be like to me.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think I've ever been around a creepy girl. I've been around strange women, but not creepy. No one's ever.
Boy, you got a pretty mouth.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah, I think that one would creep me out.
I mean, honestly, that it takes a lot. But, you know, in the context of the way people say it these days, he was creepy, socially. I can get the socially awkward because you can look at pictures and you can see how he's socially awkward. I get that. But creepy, not so much. How even his interaction with the police officer wasn't creepy. Was that creepy to you?
I don't think it was creepy, no. I mean, it was, to be honest with you, people got a lot more out of that than I even thought about getting out of it.
I thought it was just straight.
I thought it was just a traffic stop. I didn't really see all that argumentative and because she was a woman and blah blah this and blah. I mean, I guess I just didn't read that into it.
Texas said he was being argumentative, I thought.
I thought he was just trying to get out of a ticket.
I did too. I mean, I guess Texas, you know, whenever you deal with people that are always having to say something back to you, sometimes it gets to that point where you feel like they are being argumentative or they wanna be right. In that video, I thought that he was just trying to play the dumb card or maybe even hit on her in a
You want to pet my cat?
in a non-sociable way. You know what I mean?
Isn't that what Enon Harsh said? You want to pet my cat?
I mean, we don't know if he was trying to hit on her. The longer I have her here, the longer I get to look at her.
Right.
I don't know. I thought he was argumentative.
Oh, hang on.
It sounds like he was a lot worse with the late David. Birthing hips. Yeah, she didn't give him a ticket. I don't know. This ego depletion stuff goes way deeper than what we've diagrammed it tonight. It could take a month.
Oh, well, yeah, because I mean, this is just screenshots that I've shared. I have downloads that of the papers like Roy Bowmeister wrote and stuff, and I mean, some of these are 85 to 100 and something pages. You know, so there's a whole lot, and I am gonna before we hang on.
You know who would creep me out? Richard Ramirez would creep me out. BTK would creep me out. That clown would creep me out. Not even being the clown, he would creep me out without the makeup. See, those are creepy people. Now, if I see later on that they have interviews of him talking and his mannerisms and all that, then I can form a fair judgment. But at this point, I really can't. Because, I mean, like I said, that word gets overused. You know, it just gets overused. I like that. Not sure if argumentative or just playing dumb real poorly. Seriously, no crosswalk. Even where I live, there's crosswalks. That is only a couple hundred people. I thought she told him she was just giving him a warning, but kept on. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read you. I was gonna read you the email that I got from Roy Bowmeister.
Okay.
It says, "Thanks for the interesting email. Threatened egotism and ego depletion are two of my contributions, but I had never really linked them. I don't think one escalates into the other, but if they coincided, it could be real trouble. Self control restrains most aggressive impulses. Threatened egotism could create the violent impulses which might normally restrain. But if depleted, then one may stop oneself from enacting on them. Ego depletion has mostly been treated as a temporary state. If he's already resisted some violent impulses, then he might just possibly give in. But still, going to a sorority house and seeking out people to kill seems a little bit more premeditated. Note some mental illnesses also weaken self control, possibly via biochemical processes. Low blood sugar, for example, creates a vulnerability to failing at self control. And I've been told that low blood sugar is a common occurrence with schizophrenia. Many people have diabetes without even knowing it. An ongoing wrestler with inner demons could certainly cause ego depletion. I don't know anything about this particular case, and it would be unprofessional of me to pronounce judgment on a particular person. But I am here to talk about it and about general purposes and the patterns of it. So to me, I was like, wow, I think I feel validated, because I was like, if he writes back and tells me, okay, you're totally off base, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So here's another question for you, Nina. Of all the people that have been thrown out there, perpetual suspects, how come Bryan doesn't match and all these other people do? Because of their pictures? We've heard the frat boys, we've heard.
But see, I've never understood that. I've never understood how you can believe 3 states, law enforcement and judges and everybody else are guilty, but you can't believe he's guilty. Or how can you believe 500 people watched it on a pay-per-view Fight Club, something another, and you can believe that, but you can't believe he did it? I mean, what makes it so strong for people to say there's no way he did it, but 50 police officers set him up?
Let me see if I can find this right quick, and then I'm going to show you something that I was thinking earlier. You know that picture that came out with the documents where it showed that car driving by, right?
Yes.
On both sides?
Yes.
I can't find it. But anyways, y'all know that picture. And then y'all know let me just grab any of these images. This is the popular one right here, so let me just pause this one. I don't even know whose channel this is. I don't want to show there. I should have grabbed Jeff's. But hold on a second. I'm going to show y'all something. I want y'all to think a minute on what I'm going to say. This picture right here, or this video, has been played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, right? People are willing to believe that they saw reflections of a murder take place in these windows. And there's people actually walk toward this One had a knife in his pocket. How people have walked across here carrying a dog. How there's been a truck over here with people being loaded in the back of that truck. They can believe all that, but they can't believe the images of that white Elantra that was in the documents that they dropped recently. And I don't have them right offhand, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I know y'all do. Let me see. I got the video. I got the video. My internet's going a little slow. What do y'all think about that? What do you think about that, Nina?
Oh, I mean, I don't. It's like I'll ask anybody, why is he such a rock star? You know, what is it? What is it about him? You know, explain it to me. I need to know.
No, but answer the question I just asked, though, about why is it so hard for you to see killings and everything else going on in Reflections. And no dig at Tommy, okay? No dig at Tommy whatsoever. But why is it so hard? Yeah, I found it. Y'all should be impressed. I found something that I actually wanted to talk about. Why is it so difficult for people to see that this is a freaking Elantra? Is my point. You get what I'm saying? You can see bodies being carried across this area and being thrown in a truck, and you can show me a blob of photo and that says, oh, there's a bear attacking Kaylee. And people hop on that, right? But you show them this, oh, there's no way that's an Elantra. You don't see nothing. You see a sunroof right there. That's what you see. That's a sunroof. All these people want to show you something different. Look, see, there's a sunroof right there. And there's another car right there. It can't be an Elantra. There's no way. How could anybody even see anything from that angle? Do you get what I'm saying, Nina?
Hey, I'm right there with you. Right there with you. I mean, some of the things that people are holding on to are things that doesn't have receipts. It's never talked about in the news. It's you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to get on the Elantra topic here. I just wanted to use this because I thought of this video earlier, and I was like, you know what? I saw that Linda Lane one, and I thought to myself, all the stuff that's been speculated on as far as that Linda Lane. You saw a whole movie being played out on the back of that Pathfinder. And even across the way, you heard, you know, you look down the street, you see a cougar running. You see, you know, you hear people yelling names. You hear, you know, you hear skeet shooting going on. You hear all kinds of stuff happening. But when somebody shows you a picture like this, oh, hell, that's the last kind of car you'll ever see. That's a Challenger right there, I believe. No, that's a Kia Sportage. That's what that is. You can't see nothing. The lights are in the way. Oh, but you can see through lights in your videos where you show blobs of color, and you can tell me exactly what's written on people's shirts. You can see all this stuff. But you see this, and you can't, there's no way that that's a car. That's a white car. What if that's a gray car? What if that's a black car? Yeah, that's a black car. You see that big car right there? That big. Look, it's not even in real. That's a model Elantra. That's photoshopped in the image. Because you see how much bigger that other vehicle is? What do you say about that, Nina?
Wow. Preach, Gage, preach. Can you explain it?
To me, the camera is at an angle.
No, I mean, can you explain why people won't listen? Or, okay, can you explain why people, can somebody explain why people will believe that Bundy was reincarnated to
Yeah.
Koberger, and he was summoned in a secret room in Christchurch in the tunnels leading to the U of I. But they won't believe that's a white Elantra. Hello?
I'm listening to you. I'm reading Jeff's comment. I bet a BK got a hold of one of these Pro Burgers while they were doing a live stream and started cutting them up with a K-bar. That Pro Burger would still deny with BK doing it. Innocent to the end.
I think Jeff put a whole lot of thought into that.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I meant to say. Is that a Matchbox Elantra or a Hot Wheels Elantra?
I think it's a generic one. It belongs to everybody. There's 22,000 of them.
That's not even the right road. That's not even Queen Road. That's
okay. You know what?
Sasquatch on wheels.
We're gonna go with the 22,000. Break it down for us, Gage. How many are out at that exact hour? How many are out that's being driven by?
I thought this one was a lot clearer. Look, it's 4:20:47. You can't tell me.
He's not supposed to be out until 4:20:54.
What?
That's 7 seconds. Come on now.
Are you shitting me or are you being real?
No, I'm saying that's how somebody would say, that can't be right because he doesn't come out of the house until 24 and 57 seconds, because the seconds are wrong. So you lied. It's over.
That's the clearest shot that I've ever seen of any other vehicle.
Well, I'm sure they have some that's a whole lot more clear.
But this is circumstantial. This circumstances right here tell me that you were at the wrong place at the wrong time and got caught by the wrong camera driving the right way.
The thing about it is that what's that they say, Occam's razor or something like that?
Yeah.
It's what? The least resistant?
Yeah. The path of path of least resistance and the more.
Yeah. Occam's razor says you're a single male in a white Elantra driving around within a half a mile of a murder house, that your DNA is on the sheath in between the bodies, and your phone was turned off, and you were 30 minutes away, and your phone turned back on, and keep in mind that it was manually turned on. And when your phone comes back on, it's being used, a VPN is being used with a different location, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, okay, you're innocent.
No. The 7 minutes is going to set him free.
Oh, yeah, that's 7 minutes. That's right. Because that 7 minutes was an hour before the murder. So how does that even go into this? Now, I could understand 7 minutes.
Don't you know that the people who who came up with these brilliant theories are people that have been in these chats for years spilling their BS about their knowledge of everything going on with the case. That 7 minutes is going to set him free.
Yeah, just like there's no way that any of this could be done by him, but it could be done because Dylan said she saw a fireman. And so now we've got a fireman with a gas mask that is spraying poison and knocking everybody out. And Dylan left the doors unlocked and everything for him. So that makes her involved. And okay.
And
And nobody's opening their mouth. We've got 15 people that have conspired to kill these 4 people, and not one person has come forward and said, you know what? I like my life. I don't want to be put to death. Here's who did it, and I was part of it.
Right. If you're speeding away from a bank minutes after the alarm has gone off, you might be a bank robber.
Well, it's just like I said the other night, they're like, there's no way for them to prove that that is the same car. If I have on a fluorescent yellow shirt and some purple tennis shoes, and I go in front of a camera at 28 seconds, and my fat ass shows up in another camera in 31 seconds, you can guarantee with my fluorescent shirt and my purple tennis shoes, it's probably the fat girl.
But it wasn't continuous. Those cameras didn't continuously see you doing that.
Within seconds? That's not continuous enough for you?
Hey, that's what they say.
I know. I'm saying you generic. I'm not saying you.
His lawyer says he was caught at this. The car was caught at this house and wasn't caught until this time, so it wasn't a continuous stream.
Okay, y'all. There's like this 50-something page document that dropped, and inside that document drop, there is a list of every camera. Okay, and in that list of every camera, it explains that the car stopped at the stop sign, then we saw the car. Immediately, headlights shined into the trees and continued until we got another picture of the car. Now, if that's not as continuous, because let me tell you something, if I'm at a stop sign and I've got to turn right or left, I'm doing it with my headlights on at 3 o'clock in the morning. So either way he turned that car, it was a continuous turn because they watched the headlights. Now, it also states that in one of those, he leaves the King Road and goes around to Walenta, and everybody knows that that little spot on Walenta, you can plainly see a car. So I'm leaving the murder scene. I turn left, okay, because that's seen. So the next time, the left is my headlights, and then the car exactly with the headlights following, the car shows up as a white Elantra at Walenta Road. So you're going to tell me that's not continuous?
It's 3:07 and 40 something seconds, right? Right here is when it comes up. Because the murders are supposed to be happening right now or earlier in the night. Where the hell's that car at? I know it comes around here. 3:04:20, I think. I'm just going to let it play.
Okay. Hey, while you do that, I'll be right back.
This is where the murders were happening, guys. Y'all ain't. This footage is brought to you courtesy of Jeff H., the guitarist. Oh, is that 3:07? What the first time it goes? Is it 3:20 something? 3:28? The first pass is 3:20, 3:28. Because a lot of people don't see this one. Hold on a second. Yeah, I did you dirty right there, Jeff. My bad. I'll back out of this. Hold on. I got confused by that Tommy one. Backpack. Isn't that classic? Backpack. Here we go. So 331, 339, 357, 405, and 407. Jeff did a good job at this. He really did.
No way. I have never seen this.
Yeah. He just gave you some shade too. Damn. I was playing the wrong video and he's like, shame.
Dang, I tell you what, that's pretty impressive.
Let me tell you something else. Did you hear that gravel
Yeah.
crackling? That's what people say with the gun cocking.
Oh, gotcha.
I was trying to tell you that the other day.
Wow, I did not know that. I am going to have to go back and record. Hey, Jeff, can I have just a little piece of the gravel, please?
That's what that was. Gravel
That's
crack.
going to, I'm serious. You watch and see if I don't make a dang video. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That makes so much sense.
That was
Wow.
not a gun cocking.
Wow.
That was gravel.
Wow. Wow.
So here comes the first pass. Backpack. Here it comes. 330, 49.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh. That's what I was trying to tell you the other night, but we were having one of those moments, I guess.
That usually means I was being stubborn about something.
But isn't that interesting right there? He just kind of cruises through there on the first pass.
Yeah, see, I mean, there ain't no way you. Yeah, anyway. Sorry, I missed all that from realizing what the gun wasn't. That just made my night. Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. Do you know, though, you have to give it props to Pavarotti that he could take that sound and convince people like my gullible ass that it really sounded like a gun.
It's okay, Nina. We're here for you.
No, I mean, I'm in like a pop shock or something.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of person takes footage from video of a quadruple murder and takes that sound and puts it to his benefit of a narrative that is totally not true, and he's gaslighting his whole community by lying to them? What kind of mind is that?
Criminal. Hey, Jeff, which video is it where you see the cat? By
Wow.
the dumpster.
Hey, Violi, if you're watching, I need you to answer my question.
Is it this one right here? Me and Jeff laughed at this one. If this is the one, we laughed at this one night. We couldn't stop laughing. You see a cat.
That was not a cat, it was a tiger.
Hold on.
My word. Is that Farley? Is that Farley?
See, Bryan's not even in Moscow at that time. So that's not even
Wow.
not even good stuff here. This is the one. I think this one's pretty cool. What?
It's only the part of the march part.
I want y'all to know that this was not a knife in this person's pocket, no matter what's been going around there. Check this out. This is pretty cool. See, doesn't that throw the reflections out the window? Once you see it in difference mode.
Oh my gosh. I know this one now.
Scared. Not to be that guy. I shouldn't park anywhere here. It's only the part of the march part.
Was that gun gravel again?
Yeah, it sure was.
Damn it. That's the title of my video. Y'all watch for it. Gun gravel. That damn gun gravel.
I can't believe you didn't know what I was talking about.
No, and I'm telling you, I'm usually more perceptive than that, and I'm usually more, I don't know, my ego is depleted.
He says it's at the top left.
My ego is totally depleted because of this.
It's called Mystery Man at Linda Lane Dumpster, Jeff. What's it called? What's the title? He has a lot of good ones. If you haven't been to Jeff's channel, go check out his channel. He has a lot of good stuff in there. I'm going to play one that's my favorite. This one always gets me. See, we got people that can get on screen and do this. Nina hopped down, leaves me up here by myself.
A lot of you got it. A lot of you got it. They can't tell me it's not real, man. We know what we've seen. You've seen the pictures. You've seen somebody pissing on Ethan's face.
A bullshit?
Allegedly.
A bullshit.
I'm supposed to say to be politically correct.
A bullshit.
Oh, Jeffrey. Stay tuned for more from Jeff 8 the Guitarist as he tackled the touchy subjects in the YouTube streets. Well, I guess Nina went bye-bye. I don't know. I guess that's a cue for me to hang it up. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been 2 hours. Nina, wherever you went, thank you for being awesome. We'll have to do this again. Thank you guys for being in chat. Jeff 8, thank you for letting me use your stuff. Salty, thank you for being in here. Dolphin, Southwest Firefly, Rondi, Texas Rangers, Sirius, PKC, some other people I need to call out. They've been in here. I know I saw some other people up in here. Mountain Mama was in here. I saw her earlier. Leslie and Billy, thank you for being here. Nikki Bobby. Andy Libby, thank you so much. Def Valley Tiger, thank you so much for being here. Hope y'all come back. Hopefully my eye gets better and I'll be able to do more of these. But I had to get these in here because I promised Tina that I would do that one last night. And I could not even see. My eye was so swollen. Yeah, Bubbly's probably lurking. Y'all have an awesome night. I'm going to play this for those of you that didn't come in till the very middle.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Who lives on Drury Lane?
Well, she's married to the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!